Well, hello everyone. Thank you again for joining us on another Pioneer live stream. If this is your first time, I guess, ever experiencing something like this, hi. The idea behind Pioneer, more broadly, that might be interesting for you to just know about, is to kind of build a place on the internet for people that are toying with ideas that they're not quite sure if maybe there'll be a project, maybe there'll be a company, to give them indeed a sense of validation, a sense of community, much like YC does for people that are ready to start fully fledged businesses or have started already, fully fledged businesses, but kind of a step before. Now, Pioneer, even prior to 2020, has always been entirely on the internet with the idea of, longer term, obviously bringing people to different hubs. But the nice thing about it is you can kind of get started from anywhere where you are in the world. You don't need a visa, you could. All the details are on the website. I'm not going to bore everyone here with it. Your time is worth much more than than that. But it's an interesting way to figure out if what you're doing has legs. And so you fill out a little application, you tell us a bit about what you're doing, and every week you get a score, and that score grows commensurate with how much progress you're making on your project, is defined by a bunch of different parameters. So I recommend you to check it out if you haven't, if you're curious. Today we're going to be presenting some of our graduates from the software, some of our pioneers, people who have performed really well and have been advanced to kind of the next level of the game. Obviously, this is only the beginning for them. The companies are quite young, and many of our pioneers go on to raise seed rounds, Series A's, Y Combinator, and so forth. Today, we're going to be presenting 6 pioneers, and they're going to be in 4 different countries. And the way this is going to work, it should be quite fun and convivial. We found that most of the demo day formats out there on the web and in the real world are great, but can feel a bit like a meat market. There's too much compressed information hitting you at once. The podcast that is moving a bit too quickly, if there were such a thing. So the way we do it is we have pioneers present what they're doing, demo it or present it for about 2 minutes, and then they're going to be interviewed by hosts who are kind of interesting and notable people. Today we have 2 great folks that have graced us with their presence. David Sachs, who's the co-founder of Atelier Ventures and has an illustrious career in Silicon Valley that I won't embarrass him with, but if you don't know him, well, you'd be pretty much living under a rock. And Li Jin, who's the founder of Atelier Ventures and formerly Andreessen Horowitz. And Lee will correct me if I mispronounced his firm name, and you should feel free to mispronounce mine as a result. So that is all. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Jackson. Jackson runs all business operations here at Pioneer, as well as puppeteering this presentation today. And he's going to walk us through some of the additional logistics. Jackson, take it away.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I have the distinct pleasure right now of describing how exactly today works. I'm going to be very quick about it. As Daniel mentioned, we have 6 pioneers from 6 pioneer teams from 4 different countries. Each will present for 2 minutes, followed by about a 5-minute fireside chat with our distinguished hosts. As an audience member, we don't expect you to sit idly by as you would a YouTube video or a Netflix show. We want you to engage, want us to be as interactive as possible. And we built out some features for you on our site to do so. There are 3 of them. First is chat. Each of our Pioneer teams has their own chat room that is available right now and for the rest of the event and afterward, in which you can have a conversation, ask them questions, give feedback. So go visit that. And there's also a general room as well for you to enjoy as a collective unit. You also have points. You have a finite number of points to distribute to your favorite presentations over the course of the day. As a result of those points, we will be able to crown our crowd favorites over the course of the day. And then follows is that little blue box on your screen. And what that does is that gives us a chance to connect you directly with pioneers after the event, whether you want to say hello, great job, want to be a customer, want to support you in whatever way. That is the button for you. Okay. With that said, we now can move on to part 1, which is bringing up David Sachs, our first host, and our first Pioneer team, which is Colm from Cadoo. How are you, David?
Hey there. How's it going?
Great. Good to see you. Welcome.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Colm. How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice to see you, David.
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
My name's Colm, and I'm working on Cadoo. I've been a runner since about my sophomore year of high school. And one thing I know about running and fitness in general is to get fit, you have to commit. You have to be working and running every single day for 365 days a year, just basically showing consistent progress. And if you're not showing consistent progress, you're not doing it right. Apps like Strava do a great job at tracking your progress, but they're not going to be your motivators. They're not going to be the app that gets you up at 6 a.m., makes you put on your running shoes and actually wants to go out there and run. And Cadoo is this app, and we do it with financial incentives. On Cadoo, users join a challenge. Challenges cost anywhere from $5 to $100 and have a fitness goal like running 15 miles this week or walking for 30 minutes a day. Each challenge is verified with apps like Strava, Fitbit, iOS Health, apps that are great at tracking your progress. And winners get their money back, plus money from the losers evenly redistributed to the challenge winners. We've launched in March of 2020, and so far, we've done over $10,000 in challenge joins. We get about $100 in deposits per user per month. We've done about $250,000 in total GMV or transaction volume. We take a 20% fee from losers before this money is evenly redistributed to the winners. And this comes out to 2.5% of an average take on our GMV, because we do get quite a bit of winners on our app. Our app does work. We take a 20% fee from losers before this money is evenly redistributed to the winners. And this comes out to 2.5% of an average take on our GMV, because we do get quite a bit of winners on our app. Our app does work. And last month we did 2.3K in revenue, and we've done 5.6K since our launch. We also get good retention. Out of people that have paid to join a challenge, 99% of them stick around every single week. And every single month a user is retained, we get a $10 increase in spend from each user. Over 300 million people use our current 5 integrated fitness platforms on a monthly basis. 74% of Americans use one fitness app, and the market is $4.4 billion, growing at 20%. And that's Cadoo. If you want to check me out, email me at cadoo.io, check out our website, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just make sure I understand how it works. So a user is going to contribute, $100 a month into the pot, so to speak. And it's sort of like pari-mutuel, that people who hit their goals get paid or win, and the people who don't hit their goals lose.
Yep, not necessarily per month, but per challenge. So if you commit to a challenge where you're tasked with running 3 miles this weekend, you're going to pay the entry fee, which would be $20. And if you actually run 3 miles this weekend, record it with Strava, you get your money back plus money from the losers distributed to the winners.
And you do this with like the whole world, or just your friends, or?
So a big thing we want to do is eliminate trust. And we think we can do this with apps that are great at tracking your progress, like Strava, iOS Health, Google Fit. So anybody in the world can compete with each other, complete strangers, and it's all verified with these apps that are great at tracking.
And how do you decide what the challenge is going to be? Does each user decide their own challenge, or you set the challenge?
We're building that right now, but for the first 1,000 challenges on Cadoo, they've all been hosted by us. In the future, users will be able to build their own challenges on our app.
Okay, got it. Okay, it's interesting. My poker crew would use this to set challenges for each other. We've kind of done these like weight bets, like you'll basically bet somebody like a large amount of money that they can't lose whatever 20 pounds, or whatever the weight is. Chamath and JCal had a bet like this. We've talked about it on the pod. So I guess the question is just like, how big can this really get?
Well, I'd like to describe like our target user as somebody that's serious about their fitness goals and wants to actively become a better runner, a better cyclist in the future, maybe better, stronger, and doing bodyweight workouts, etc. And Cadoo is really the place for anybody that is just serious about themselves, because ultimately, when you do a bet like this, you're putting money down on yourself and you're committing to your own fitness goal. So I think we can capture a big portion of, the 300 million users that use our app, and a big portion of the fitness app market. I don't have a specific figure in mind, but for like the long-term vision, it's more brand definition than anything else. I think there's a big lack of the space where, somewhere where people are serious about their goals can go and actually, show that they've committed and they've done what they said they're going to do. And I want Cadoo to be this app.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever think about doing like a SaaS fee instead of doing like a take rate? Like,
yeah,
so just to pay you $5 or $10 a month to be able to create challenges, as opposed to having to take a take on the money in the challenge?
Definitely, more generally, I think it's going to be better for us to monetize our winners rather than monetizing our losers. One, it makes us more aligned with like getting our users to win challenges. And then two, 90% of our challenges are challenge wins, not challenge losses. So we'd be monetizing a lot more money that goes through our app this way. So whether that's a SaaS fee or whether that's building out a referral store where you can buy memberships to Barry's Bootcamp or Peloton right through the Cadoo app itself, as long as we're monetizing our winners, I think that's a better way to go. And that's something we're going to push for.
So, but you said 2,300 in revenue last month. Is that right?
2.3K in revenue.
So that's $2,300.
Yeah.
And how many users was that?
So we have 450 paying users, and last month we had 275 active users that paid for a challenge.
Okay, interesting. And what do most of the underlying fitness apps, the 5 that you're integrating with, what do they typically charge?
So a lot of them are on freemium models. Strava is free to use and record. They have Strava Premium, which gives you more detailed analytics. Garmin, I mean, you have to, buy a Garmin watch to use Garmin, and same for Fitbit. But I think generally what we're trying to integrate with is just apps that have a large user base and that are also good at tracking progress.
Okay, got it. Okay, and then retention. Have you looked at churn on a monthly basis? You're showing it kind of weekly.
We've done weekly so far. We had trouble, getting long-term data from Firebase and Google Analytics. It's something we've just set up. So we're definitely going to be looking at monthly more often. But I'd say typically, users that stick, it's about 75% of the users that join challenges will join at least one challenge that month. And we've seen that consistently since launching.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thank you.
When you see people doing something, maybe the early adopters, whether it's your poker crew or people using scripts to link files between 2 computers before Dropbox, or I don't know, people making matcha lattes before it was cool. Like often you see small pockets of people doing something and then someone productizes it. To what extent do you think this falls into that bucket? Or maybe even a more interesting question is, how do you tease out when it's just a niche thing that like Chamath does in his poker group versus the beginning of, say, a very large trend? What utensil would you use?
It's a good question, and for me, the answer just kind of comes down to feel. I do think that like the Chamath JCal weight challenge feels like a very idiosyncratic thing, not like a super common thing. But maybe the idea of creating challenges, I can see that being like their specific like weight bet, I think maybe was pretty idiosyncratic, but I could see the idea of like challenges, particularly with friends. I could see people doing that. I'm not sure about the financial component though. I mean, can people create challenges in the app without them being monetary?
Yeah. So currently we're hosting all the challenges, but it's something we want to include. So yeah, you have the option to create a free challenge once we add this feature in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how like mainstream creating money challenges around fitness goals is. I mean, I could be like proven wrong, but
Colm will work hard to prove you wrong. We have to move on to the next one. Thank you, Colm.
Yeah, thank you.
Super. Next up, we have Vasek. Vasek's in the Czech Republic, and he's going to be presenting Devbook. Devbook is a search engine for developers.
Hello, everyone. Hello, David. I'm Vasek. I'm in Prague, Czech Republic, and I would like to introduce you to Devbook, a search engine for developers. So let's get right into the demo. Here, I am inside my coding editor, and I am working on my website. And I would like to detect an operating system of the visitors of my website, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that in JavaScript, but Devbook can help me with that. So I can open Devbook with a global shortcut, just like so, and I can start typing right away. So let's search for what we need, and it seems like the first result is exactly what we need. And also this code snippet seems pretty useful. I can copy that with a shortcut, paste it into my code base, and just like that, I have the method for detecting an operating system for our visitors. But I'm not exactly sure what is this window navigator object, But once again, Devbook can help me with that, because in Devbook, you can also search in documentation. So switch there, and I can search for the window.navigator. And once again, the first result is exactly what I need. It would be also cool if I could read the documentation and code at the same time. And for that, we have the pin mode. So I can pin Devbook, resize it, and it will always stay on the top of the coding of the application I'm using. So I can code and read the documentation at the same time. And if I don't want to see Devbook anymore, I can just hit the global shortcut again and get rid of it. So we launched in December, and yesterday we had 1,200 daily active users. And Devbook is loved by dev communities across the whole internet. We are a team of 2 founders. We are both developers and have known each other for over 11 years and building projects together for the same time. So in the next 3 to 5 months, we want to hire some engineers and include all existing libraries and knowledge for web development in JavaScript, and then integrate Devbook deeper into the coding editors. We are raising our seed round, which will allow us to hire 2 to 3 engineers and completely replace Googling for solo developers. And then we will build Devbook for teams. So quick summary, Devbook is a search engine for developers. You can download it and use it for free right now. We are raising our seed round. So if you are a investor interested in Devbook, I want to connect with you. Thank you.
What's the difference between the search capabilities that you guys provide and what's kind of natively available in like GitHub or, you know, like whatever code repository the company is using?
Yeah, so we are not a code search engine. What you search for Devbook is all the information you need to finish your task. So it might also be like information about your servers, about some documentation information and similar. And what you are searching often in GitHub mostly, it's searching for code. We actually had that feature in the first version, but their API was so bad that we had to remove it because it wasn't returning the stuff we needed. So it will come back, but we have to do our own indexing.
Okay, interesting. And have you seen SourceGraph?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a company I'm invested in actually. How are you guys different than SourceGraph?
So if I'm not mistaken, SourceGraph is mostly a code search. Mm-hmm. And I think Devbook and SourceGraph can coexist together because like we are more like a Bloomberg terminal for developers, or like a browser for developers, where you can find all the other information that you need to finish your task. And then you can use also SourceGraph to see the examples inside of code repositories and code in repositories of your team. But you also need all those packages and documentation and information about your infrastructure and all the discussion that happened on your Slack and everything around that, which we provide with Devbook.
So maybe, can you give me like an example?
So an example might be that you want to search for how to detect that operating system with JavaScript, and we give you a result of the object from window.navigator object that I showed you from documentation. We also give you result from different third-party packages that can do that for you. We also search Stack Overflow results, all the discussion that happened on your internal Slack, where you might have been discussing this problem already, or maybe also GitHub issues or pull requests that are like related to this problem and issue you are searching for.
David, so how do you think about the situation? Obviously, you're a famous founder, but not a software engineer. So how do you think about, or at least lately, how do you think about evaluating something like this?
I mean, the first thing that came to mind for me, obviously, is SourceGraph, which does universal code search, because we led the Series B and I'm on the board. So, you know, so I think, like, broadly speaking, I like this idea because I've already kind of invested in a similar version of it. I think, you know, I like dev tools that can appeal to developers and get distribution directly through sort of a prosumer model. So like those things are all good. I think the thing I need to like really understand better is just how this is different than the existing solutions that, you know, maybe further ahead in the market.
Yes, that makes sense. All right, good stuff. Vasek, thank you so much. Moving right along here. This is going to be fun. Final one for you, David. I'd love to introduce you to Sid. Sid is in the Bay Area, contra popular narrative that everyone's moving to Miami. And he's going to be presenting Prefix. And Prefix has an interesting take on the kind of low code, no code thing where, I mean, it is truly self-serve. It is the holy grail that everyone starts out trying to build and then runs away from. Sid is actually going to do. So Sid, with that lowbrow introduction, I'll let you take it away.
So, hey everyone, I'm Sid. I'm building Prefix, and Prefix builds software that allows businesses to automate complex processes on computers quickly and without too much expertise. So RPA software is seeing big growth lately, but much of this technology is not particularly new. There are many platforms in the space, notably UiPath, and they're built on the vision that we could democratize automation beyond just the few highest volume use cases for which the price tag's justified. But in recent years, we've seen roles like UiPath automation engineer becoming a job title, and protracted engagements with service providers required to really go anywhere with the software. Parts of the original vision of widening the scope for custom automation has been lost. And it's particularly difficult to change this since over time, these products ended up being built not for the businesses that actually need automations, but for integration services to deliver automations to clients. So we give customers direct access to automation software and bring the time it takes them to learn the software and build new automations to a minimum. And it's best explained how we do this visually. So imagine I'm in charge of customer support for a growing Shopify business, and we have a software we use to process refunds that I run through on a weekly basis. I open Prefix, I access the software I operate on, and I start by selecting any element on screen that I need to automatically click or type into. Then in the next step, exiting the selection tool, I go right into a process diagram where I reference the elements from the first step and embed any business logic. So whatever a process here is, since it's one I've been personally involved with, I'm more familiar with what this diagram should look like than our service provider would be, and can build out much of this automation quickly. I started working on all this last summer after working on teams where there are painful custom automation needs and a total inability to get started with the enterprise RPA tools of today. The team's currently myself and one other engineer. To date, we have 20K in annual revenue managing screen scraping at scale. We're in a security audit for our first enterprise pilot at Coinbase, and we received a 50K LOI from a contractor with a multi-million-dollar USAID contract. We're currently raising a seed round of 1 million with 300K committed on the round so far and 750K committed to date. Thanks for listening. You can check out the website at prefix.app.
I mean, this looks really cool. I haven't dug in deep on RPA as an investor. So, I mean, I think it looks like a really kind of interesting, kind of topical category. I guess the question with something like this is just, again, like how are you different than what currently exists today?
Yeah, so two things. The first is kind of our distribution. So we sell our software directly to businesses that need to build automations and that benefit from automations rather than this partner model where we sell into like Accenture and have them, or we bring in automation partners where they're actually implementing automations for customers. So this difference means that we can be a little more selective about the use cases we address, and we can focus on more like open approaches where we distribute our tool more widely and see which business users it lands on. And the other difference is long-term, our goal is to reduce automation implementation time to 0. And some of the technologies we're building on the back end involve listening to actions that are being done on a computer. So we can eventually remove the software altogether from building automations and generate them using data.
And so the demo you gave, can we actually go back to kind of the flow builder? The flow there, you're tracking actions that are being taken on some like third-party site, or like whose site was that when you were like creating? Is this the customer's own site, or?
This is a demo of a Retool app. So this is the Retool's refund template tool that they offer for e-commerce businesses to adopt. And this automation is being like, this is me building it on the back end by dragging in blocks that connect these elements together, the ones that were labeled in this extension.
Interesting. And so, huh. So give an example of, so in this case, what would that, what does the data tell you or the inputs tell you?
So right now we have like search by email selected, the select refund type dropdown selected. And so whenever I click on one of these, it adds it to this list and it tells me, it gives our application some info on how to find it on screen when it's running the automation. So then when we build this process diagram and we say, okay, now go click on, or now go select from this dropdown, this refund type dropdown, we know the selector or the image that we need to look for using computer vision on the screen, where we need to click and which option we need to choose.
Okay, got it. So the automation, so the bot actually is performing the actions in Retool.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so you're building a bot to take those actions in Retool or some other software. You're kind of okay. That makes sense. That's pretty interesting. And who would want to use that, you think?
Mostly institutions that like larger businesses that work with like legacy tools where there are no clean A to B system integrations. All that stuff has been solved by like Zapier and Zapier clones. But we're looking at like regional banks and regional medical centers where there are systems you don't really want to go in and really change the infrastructure for. You want to layer on top of those that could maybe create some efficiencies on.
This is something I would definitely want to have someone on my team who is familiar with RPA take a look at if you want to do a follow up. I mean, I think this is definitely something that would be like in our wheelhouse. But I'd want to get someone on our team who is a little more familiar with RPA and the existing kind of state of the art to take a look at it. But I think it's really cool. It looks really cool.
Appreciate it.
Cool. Good stuff. Well, thank you so much, David. Thank you so much, Sid. We will obviously, connect to anyone also watching who's interested. I'm going to let you both go. Thank you both for your presence on our live stream, adding presence with your presence as usual. And we're going to move on to our next segment, segment 2 of 2. And I guess if anyone's watching, there's a kind of a nice interface if you're watching on Pioneer's website where you can award points to the presentation you think is most interesting, acting not unlike a venture capitalist, allocating a scarce amount of capital. In this case, it's of our currency. Anyway, all of that being said, I'm going to bring up our next host now, Li Jin. Hi, Li. How are you doing?
Hey, Daniel. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Doing good. How do we properly pronounce the name of your firm?
Atelier.
Okay, I got it right. Great. Like Atelier Print.
Yes, it means artist studio or workshop.
Awesome. As you can tell, my knowledge of language is mostly based on restaurant names. But anyway, first, and certainly not least, I'd love to bring up Brian from New York. He's going to be presenting Sneakerlist. Sneakerlist is kind of a hyper-local sneaker marketplace, a better goat in that sense. I'm going to let Brian take it away and walk you through more from here. Go ahead, Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm here to present Sneakerlist, a hyper-local sneakers marketplace. The sneaker resale market has been growing very quickly. And if you look at the landscape, there are two different types of platforms that users can use to buy and sell sneakers in the aftermarket. Sneaker dedicated platforms like StockX, Stadium Goods, and GOAT, as well as communities and marketplaces that are not dedicated for sneaker selling, solely dedicated for sneaker selling, but if used the right way, can help people save money, time, and also form relationships with others. If you look at the value proposition provided by the sneaker dedicated platforms, they provide middleman services to guarantee authenticity, provide trust, as well as fair pricing. However, what they do not solve for is the following: trust and direct P2P transactions, which continues to be a really important driver in this market, as well as a reliable community of knowledge and content so that you can share it with like-minded folks. Sneakerlist aims to take a different approach and become a hyper-local sneaker community where you can do better discovery of local inventory, become part of a vibrant community, and also have more security and trust in direct P2P transactions. So here's a quick product demo of what we built so far. Here in the home section, you'll be able to see all the listings that people have uploaded. the pictures of the sneaker listings. And then if you see the product, you'll be able to get all the details around that product and also the location of the seller, so you can arrange a meetup. When you click on the seller's profile, you'll be able to see the reviews that other people have provided, so you can gauge their transaction record. You go back to the home, you can see that you can create two types of posts. You can create a selling post detailing the information on the product, and a regular post to share content with your audience. Discover, you can find more products around your area. And then in the feed, you can get latest news on raffles as well as releases on sneakers that are coming up. Here's our progress so far. We've been retaining our users quite well. Our week 1 retention has been 34%, leveling down to 22% by week 4. And our active user growth has been quite robust as well, especially in the past 2 weeks. We have 683 weekly active users. That's been growing at 83% on a month-over-month basis. The team is myself. We have Gun Kim as the lead software engineer and John Cheng as the lead UI UX engineer. Thanks for your time. Please contact me if you're interested in checking out our platform or if you want to buy and sell sneakers locally. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. So just to make sure I understood that correctly, when you say hyperlocal marketplace, you mean that there's no shipping involved. People are buying and selling with their local communities and meeting up in person to exchange products and payment?
Yeah, exactly. I think what was really interesting to me when I started to dig into this market is that there's a very active population of sneaker sellers that actually meet up in person and arrange local meetups to buy and sell products. And I think that achieves two things. One, it saves on shipping costs, which, for a lot of resellers is something they, try to avoid. And then secondly, when you meet up with somebody, you start forming a relationship. It's never just about one transaction. I think once you get to know somebody and you develop trust with that person, you continue to transact with that person in the future, which I think is very valuable for a bunch of these folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And on the demand side, are people buying as an investment or are they buying to wear?
I think what's really interesting about this segment is that people do both. A bunch of the sneakerheads buy for profits, and they quote unquote flip for to gain a profit from the transaction, but they also look for sneakers to wear themselves. So I think what's been really interesting is that a bunch of our users are both buyers and sellers, which helps us hack the liquidity issue a little bit as you're kind of solving the cold start problem. Right?
Yeah, I guess my biggest question is around that segment that's buying for profit to flip. Like if that is the case, wouldn't it be advantageous for them to be able to search the entire, universal supply pool of sneakers out there rather than just being constrained to what's available locally if they're looking to flip and resell these sneakers? I understand that for people who are looking to wear, it could be advantageous to buy locally. You could see the item, try it on, whatever. But for folks who are really looking for the lowest possible price on a specific pair of sneakers, isn't that a disadvantage for you?
Yeah, I think that a bunch of these folks, number one, try to look into different platforms. So if given the option of filtering through local inventory in a very easy way, they wouldn't be opposed to checking out multiple platforms at the same time. So if you go through the order of operations, I would say that number one, everyone would prefer to buy things at retail, right? Go to Nike and cop it very quickly and buy it at retail, but that is impossible because inventory is very limited. So I think most people that we've interfaced and found that are users of the platform currently check out multiple different platforms, including local, so that they can find what's the best deal out there. I think the problem that we're really solving for is that, for you to do local right now, it's a very broken experience because there isn't anything that is dedicated for sneakers. Like all the platforms that are listed on the competitor page is almost like a hodgepodge of different products that people sell. So, for the sneaker seller that really wants to find that local deal, it becomes a very strenuous discovery process. So I think that's something that we can definitely provide a better user experience for.
I guess my biggest point of feedback is not being a sneakerhead myself, I'm just not entirely sure how large the market is for folks who are interested in buying sneakers, looking for the lowest possible prices in order to make a profit, and interested in buying them locally in order to build that relationship with the counterparty. Like it just feels like a subset of a subset. But maybe it's like a really big market, and so that can be large enough.
I think that, you know, what I'm trying to really aim for here is find the softest part of the land where I can like plant a flag. And that for me is local because it isn't being really solved for through a good product. I think once that happens, I think the audience can evolve so that we can provide different services and extend this to become, you know, a more comprehensive set of solutions, like offering legit check. Or if you think about Gold and StockX also, the amount of GMV that they generate isn't just, you know, reselling transactions. Brands are coming in there and doing B2B2C deals so that they can directly, you know, really address the customer base that is found on those platforms as well, right? So I think this is going to be the initial strategy for us to gather an audience, you know, get thousands, tens of thousands, you know, potentially millions of people that are really engaged in this niche local dealing. And then once that grows, I think there's going to be more interesting things that we can do because these guys are all going to be interested in the same brands as well as the same, you know, sneakers, right? So I think that becomes very interesting immediately.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. As we know, fintech often travels in siblings. And so I'd love to bring up Andres and Alex, two brothers from Mexico, who will be presenting a fintech company in Latin America called Warp. It's basically digital banking for Latin America, which is still fairly cash heavy, and these folks are bringing it online. I'll let Andres and Alex fill us in on the details. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here with my brother Andres. Hi. We're Warp, the platform for day-to-day payments in Latin America. Turns out that in Latin America, half of the population lives in the informal economy. So it's basically impossible to do your everyday purchases without depending on cash. Even the formal workers need to withdraw their salary to be able to cover the living expenses with merchants and the communities that don't accept cards. So there are plenty of solutions trying to solve this with bank accounts or card readers, but none of them were able to solve it because first, they built on all the infrastructure, and these neobanks are just nice UIs built on the same banking infrastructure. Second, they only focus on one side of the market. And third, the business models are not aligned with the customer. So it's making these solutions impossible for the low-income population that actually sets the consumption behavior for the rest. Killing cash usage is the biggest untapped opportunity in fintech, and that's why we really work. We're starting any kind of financial system in Mexico where 9 out of 10 transactions are made using cash. They represent a 200 billion opportunity every year, and it's been locked for financial institutions since ever. So our product is for merchants and consumers, and it's designed to generate network effects that ensure that even the hardest to reach populations can use the platform to move money in real time, 24/7, either they are online or offline at no cost. And consumers get a mobile bank account with peer-to-peer payment features. They send or receive money in a very familiar way. And we give them debit cards to support the transition from the old system to the modern work method. And in some way, merchants get the tools they need to sell more. We can charge them way less than the outdated point of sale solutions. And we give them their money the instant they complete a sale so they can go the next day to buy more inventory. We launched our beta 4 months ago, and we have about 2,000 customers on beta, 25 small businesses right now. And since our launch, about 27,000 people joining our waitlist. We're a team of 2 right now. We're brothers, and we've been building financial services and payments for the last 5 years. Right now, we're raising $1.5 million to grow our team that will enable us to roll new features and expand into new verticals faster. So here are my contact details. If you're interested and want to help us to build the digital economy in Latin America.
Thank you. Can you go back, I think, 3 slides? So is it starting with the wedge of merchants and enabling onboarding merchants as your initial wedge?
No, we started as a bank account. For me personally, I was a kid. So I got my first job, and it was very hard to get a kid's bank account. So I got my first jobs, and turns out that I reached the limit for this account. So I had to travel to the other side of the city just to get paid in cash. So once I got robbed, I said, this is enough. I'm build a personal bank account. So this project has been, it started as a personal bank account, but once we had access to these systems of move money for the entire country, we figured out that something was broken and that wasn't working. So our first strategy is to build for individuals who have the account, get familiar with it, and then acquire merchants. So we can force the merchants to drive a new consumption behavior.
Got it. Okay. So initially it's targeting consumer users. And I guess the value proposition is that they can do peer-to-peer payments with each other, and then layering on the merchant side after that so that they can also use their new bank to spend at different merchants.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I'm not really familiar with the market and the geo. And so I think my biggest questions would be just around the competitive landscape of what other new banks exist locally that are also trying to acquire, the same base of customers and merchants.
Sure. Yeah, there are solutions for merchants and for the consumers. There are no solution that's focusing on both sides. So yeah, right now the consumer side is only bank accounts, neo banking, and payment acceptance with cards. But turns out that because of how the system works, how the fees get shared through middleman, and every time moving moves, it gets very expensive. These financial institutions actually had to focus on a very specific segment, a very hyper specific audience, just to cover their operations. So that's why no one is focusing on the lowest part of the pyramid.
Cool. We are unfortunately out of time. Thank you both, Andres and Alex. Next and certainly not least, we have Carmina and Jason. Carmina and Jason are from Canada, and they're working on a product that is kind of a new way of creating digital companions. There's all sorts of people using AI and machine learning to schedule meetings and answer emails like your admin. Carmina and Jason are working on something that is much more about helping people almost raise digital pets. I don't want to give the pitch away or pitch it incorrectly, so I'll hand over the microphone to them to explain to us.
Great. So hi, we're Jason and Carmina working on Kajiwoto, a platform for you to create digital companions. Here's how it works. Okay, so basically, companions are comprised of both skins and data sets that users have the ability to either create or purchase from our marketplace. So once you have your chosen companion, you can either personalize it by using our behavior training tools or by mixing and matching data sets to find the right combination of personality for you. As you can see here, I'm just chatting with one of our cat-like companions. It's more of a wholesome personality. Okay, beyond that, we're looking to provide a more lifelike experience for our users by having them have companions that not only learn, but also use that information contextually within their conversations. We also want to build up our marketplace by not only improving our existing creation tools, but also by lessening the burden on our creators. We want to do that by introducing co-creation as well as community contribution. Think of contribution as a similar concept to contributing to a GitHub project. Our users are currently kids or teens who are using this as a fun creative outlet for OCs and comfort characters, while adults are using this more for supplementing certain relationships. Currently, they're using a combination of different solutions like fan fiction and art to simulate sort of a visual component, and role-play servers as well as other AI apps to simulate sort of a conversation and interaction. They're currently finding us either through a Discord bot or through an App Store keyword search or via friend or coworker. Our weekly active users are around 1,250, with our top users using our app for about 16.6 to 25 hours per week, and the average user using it for about an hour to an hour and a half. Currently, they're sending about 50 to 70,000 messages per week, with creators training up to 1,800 sentences per week. There are a total of about 26,000 companions available in the marketplace. All right, if y'all have any other questions, feel free to hit us up. We're Jason and Carmina. Thank you so much.
I think I missed the part where, what is the creator aspect of this? Who are the creators and what are they creating?
The creators are creating everything you saw there, basically, the data sets as well as the skins, which is the visual aspect.
Okay, I see. So you're basically building like a two-sided platform where there's character creators as well as the end users who are interacting and talking to them?
We're building the marketplace and also the tools that they're using to make these things, yeah, as well as the engine itself. But yeah.
Got it. Interesting. And the primary way that users are interacting with the characters is via chat conversations?
Yeah, they chat. There's a personal aspect to it, and then we're quickly and also there's group chat, and we are currently building to make the group chat more core part of the experience, which already exists.
I remember, so this reminds me a little bit of a few years ago when there was the whole chatbot explosion on like the messenger platforms, and some of them allowed you to chat with like virtual friends or characters.
Sure.
Which seemed like a great idea, but they didn't really get much in the way of consumer adoption. So I'm curious what you think was lacking in that wave of virtual relationships and characters.
I'm not actually aware of that wave, so I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. But I definitely do think the way people look at AI has changed. The things that people in the tech industry write about and read about, the consumers read the same thing, but they get a completely different understanding than what we do. So there definitely is miscommunication, but there's definitely a new fascination of AI. Also, a lot of our users, they range in all age groups, but a lot of our users are kids in their 13 to 17 years old age. So there's definitely a new group. So definitely the consumer mind has definitely shifted.
Yeah, that's interesting. It would be really interesting if there was like this massive consumer behavioral shift towards being more open to speaking with AI characters and developing relationships with them.
Sure. It's actually more than just about the speaking part. It's also largely about the creation. Yeah. If I were to say what our main differentiator was, that would probably be it. We focus more on the creation and less on the conversation.
Right, but the two have to both be in place.
They do.
Right?
They do. They have to be because our creators are selling and buying and selling, and the experience has to be there. Yeah. But in terms of what we're trying to achieve, we're not trying to achieve conversations. We're trying to achieve emotional attachment, and conversation just happens to be one of the ways to get there.
Got it. Yeah. No, very cool. I totally buy that people can have relationships and attachment to virtual characters. Like I grew up very much on Neopets, and so yeah, it would be cool if those characters weren't driven by a single company, but by the global community of creators.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you, Carmina. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lee. Hopefully this was interesting and dynamic, give you a little slice of the hundreds of thousands of people online building companies. I guess to anyone who's watching, you can still get a chance to vote for the presentations you thought that were the most interesting, dynamic, lucrative today, whatever your fitness function is. And there's also a chat feature beneath us where you can actually catch up with the pioneers and ask them any follow-up questions if you weren't like Lee and had the ability to Zoom with them live. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Most importantly, I should probably say thank you to the team at Pioneer that is building everything that you're seeing today. Although this product that we're talking on is Zoom, the infrastructure around it, the leaderboard, the progress updates, it's all built by a team of software and operations professionals. And thank you all for being fantastic and for helping us accomplish our mission of trying not only to just identify founders, early on before anyone else does, but truly help generating more. We really think the world should have many more startups in it, which is, I think, a bit of a crazy thing to say, given how many startups there are already. You'd think that we're at critical mass, but we think this is only the beginning. And there's a lot of creation ahead, and hopefully innovation in progress will only accelerate over time. But anyway, I'm not going to bore you with my horrible speeches. I will let you on get on with your day. Thank you again, everyone, and thank you, Jackson. And we'll be back soon with more content for you. So stay tuned, and if you're at all curious, the website is pioneer.app.